everyone. So now we will have the presentation of OpenStack in Canada. Our speaker is Jonathan.
It's a French name.
Okay, it's a French name, sorry. Okay. Jonathan is the VP Business Development for Cloud and Infrastructure at Savoir-Faire Linux. And before he joined the company in February 2014, he was responsible for the Intelon, the first cluster of the French tech dedicated for free software. And he's the director of R&D at UltraWide. Jonathan is also a VP sitting on the board of April, a French-based free software advocacy group, and on the board of the Association of Francophone Users of OpenStack. He also belongs to the organizing committee of OpenStack Montreal. You can read his column in Direction Informatique, or may I say Direction Informatique?
Direction, but in French.
Okay, the magazine for Quebec CIOs. So please help me welcoming Jonathan for his speech.
Like my friend, I'm French from France, and like my friend, I have a weird accent. Sorry for for the presentation. I would like to begin because I'm very engaged in free software movement for 11 years now. That's not only a job for me, but a passion. And for my part, I have a few symbols in my life. I don't know if you heard this one, but 2 weeks ago, you have an announcement from Apple. Apple already now they use KVM. They go out VMware OS60 and they use KVM. It's the last proprietary castle for today, you know. Apple is a symbol for many, for Richard Stallman, for many guys of the most proprietary ecosystem, and I think we could be very happy to have a symbol like that because today Apple choose free software, it choose open source to deploy their platform. And that's important because I think, like we said many years ago, we're going to win the war, and I think it's already done. That's why it's important. It's only my free software engagement talk here, but I think it's very important. Under that, you have OpenStack, okay? And that's important. We made the presentation. I would like to have a global context. I was very happy to hear this morning a presentation about OpenStack, a very deep technical presentation. I would like to have another symbol of OpenStack. I'm working with OpenStack for 4 years now. Okay. Before that, I was R&D manager, and my first big cloud project was run with OpenStack. And I think to understand why we're going to use more and more OpenStack, and why OpenStack is a disruptive innovation in the world of cloud, of infrastructure, you could keep in mind the Gartner. All the time, you are very serious when you're talking about Gartner, you know. I think it's very important for a presentation to have a Gartner slide. Okay, that's why I think you think now I'm a very credentialed guys because I have a slide of Gartner. And that's important because today, the world, when I'm talking with my clients, we are two worlds. In the same company, in a big company, it's a small, not very, we don't have the same problem, but we have the world, the first world is a mode 1. In this mode 1, you have traditional legacy application with few evolution, ERP, CRM, technology like that, and we use year after year more and more resources to provide their solution, but you don't need to have a very high new capabilities. You not have to create, I think, new VM, new content every day. This is a small. It's the traditional way. In the other way, you have the mode 2. It's the agility. And the agility, it's why when you would like to develop software, when you would like to develop new application where you are on the web, you are on the smartphone company. Every company now develops software. Every company now develops software for your new use. You use on your laptop, you use on your smartphone. And in that way, the traditional mode in infrastructure, it's the VMware world, I think, or the virtualization world, can't not do the thing what we do. We need to be fast. We need to have 1 day VM. We need to go 1 hour VM. And it's a big world of big company. It's very hard. That's why it is important to understand that, because this is not black or white. You don't have OpenStack, it's the best solution ever, and the virtualization, like with VMware virtualization, is the bad one. No, you are two different use, and you need to improve this use. You need to keep in mind what you would like to do with your infrastructure. That's why today, when you have a system like Mod 2, when you need to have a big system of innovation, you need to have continuous integration, you need to have tools to implement rapidly the new feature in your software or in your website. And that's why in this world, we're going to talk about cloud computing. Okay. In the other world, you could talk about cloud computing, but cloud computing have no advantage than another solution in the mode 1. It's a cost-expensive solution, I think. It's the mode 1, cloud computing. That's important. The question is, when this morning we are a definition of the cloud, the definition in the Wikipedia or another way, I think today it's not, I talk about industrial feedback when I talk with my client, when I see the company. I think today we have two visions of the cloud. We have the vision of the public cloud. I will go. In the other side, I will give you an example of what company offer this one. And you have the vision of private cloud. And private cloud, what is the differences? Is more about the privacy of the information, where we like to. It's also what's the power you have on your infrastructure, what you would like to do with your data, where we like to manage. Do you have an investment? Do you have a data center? Do you have server? How many server you have? How many money you invest in your server? All the questions are important. It's not so easy to say cloud is the future. No, it depends on what is exactly your situation right now. And that's why it's important. And in this world of public cloud or private cloud, you have two actors. The first actor, it's a public cloud actor. Today, when you're talking about with every company, when we think about cloud computing, they think about public cloud solution. They never think about private cloud solution. Why? Because before OpenStack, you don't have a private cloud solution. You only have a virtualization solution. Now, why? Because when you're talking about public cloud, you have AWS. I think it's the leader of the market. You have Azure from Microsoft. You have OVH in Quebec. It's the most larger data center in the world, and it's based on Quebec. It's a traditional way. You have SoftLayer. SoftLayer, it's the IaaS, infrastructure as a service offer from IBM. In this way, Amazon have been creating a new paradigm of cloud, a new paradigm of infrastructure. You need your infrastructure, you take your infrastructure not on VM. You don't think VM, you don't think server, you think resources. You think CPU, I/O, you think hard drive, you think like that. And when you deploy an application, you don't care about where I put my application. Your question is how I could build an application with a capability to scale with the demand of my application. That's why today, when you are Netflix, when you are Uber, when you have company like that, you go to AWS, because it's the only public cloud offer you elasticity, offer you all you need to improve your infrastructure. And in that way, you don't have the same thing in the private cloud. Because if you build, today, if you build an application in a private cloud, you build you build it on a VM. And VM, it's not on-demand resources. VM, it's very focused resources. And after that, you could create a mechanism to deploy and to increase your VM. It's not the true cloud. That's why 5 years ago, NASA and Rackspace, one of the company compete Amazon, would like to create a new solution, a new tools to offer the same thing, the same distributive approach like AWS. This is OpenStack. To compare with the smartphone industry, I could say Amazon Web Services is the iPhone. OpenStack, it's Android. You know, with iPhone, under iPhone, Apple have it's involved all the elements you have on your iPhone. Okay, it manages all the elements, the screen, the technology, all the CPU. What you would like to do with iPhone, it's very straight by Apple. In the other way, when you think about OpenStack, you think about Android. Android, it's an open platform you could share everywhere with any other platform. You could have Samsung, you could have LG, you could have company use Android. It's the same thing with OpenStack. OpenStack, it's a tool to manage infrastructure as a service. We're going to talk about what is infrastructure as a service in every platform, in every technology. If I resume, like I will say, OpenStack, it's only a standard API. If you have a big conversation about technical side of OpenStack, but you don't keep in mind OpenStack is a standard solution for the cloud infrastructure, you don't understand what is OpenStack. It's the only word, API, a standard API. We're going on that. I would like, this morning we say OpenStack, it's a PaaS SaaS solution. I run many projects with OpenStack. OpenStack, it's not a PaaS or SaaS solution. OpenStack, it's an infrastructure as a service solution. After that, you could have a stack on OpenStack to automate processes, to automate deployment. And after that, you could have a PaaS or SaaS solution. But you could also have a PaaS without IaaS. You could have a SaaS without IaaS. What exactly is OpenStack? It's OpenStack offer a virtualization on your infrastructure. All the stack of your infrastructure are virtualized. I think it's the most view of, it's the, every presentation about OpenStack finished with this, this picture. But I think, why? Because this picture resumes very well what is exactly OpenStack. It's a complete virtualization of your data center. You don't care about what is your hardware, what is your switch, what is your technology under OpenStack. You are focused only on how you could serve your application, how you could serve your application. That's the way. And the element very important in OpenStack, after that we will have an example. It's Apache license. This morning we have a talk, a very interesting talk about open source and free software. I would like the two words. Both of the worlds, both of the best of the free software world and the open source world. But you could give in this way if you have a licensing can permit it, you know? Because you could, when you use Apache, why OpenStack is so popular with big company? Because with Apache licensing, you could integrate Apache, OpenStack in a proprietary solution. You could integrate in every technology you want. You could offer an upstream solution at OpenStack. You could integrate OpenStack on Cisco. You could integrate OpenStack with EMC, with Dell, with HP. You don't care because Apache permits the communication between proprietary software and open source software. That's why today OpenStack is so popular. Because OpenStack offered at the industry 4 years ago a standard, an API. All the elements, the component of OpenStack communicate with API. Like we said this morning, API permit to have a standard communication between two components and permit to have a standard communication between every technology you have around OpenStack. Hardware technology, software technology. You have only API, REST API communication. It's very simple. And this is the new way of open source. You could have many software, and after that you have a standard API. And in the world of big ones, in the world of big company, just keep in mind VMware. Today, VMware, it's a Dell company. Okay, Dell sold both EMC in the same time both VMware. You know, VMware that's smaller than Dell need to both a big company like EMC to both VMware. And VMware, it's 95% of the virtualization of the world. In this world, the big world, the company are very big, with big money, and this world you have the problem of hardware, and the hardware company are very strong. And today, that's why in the game of big player, you need to have a standard solution, and OpenStack over that. A standard solution, you could compete on every technology, you could compete on hardware, on software, on that, but you could communicate in the same way. And that's why when you are Cisco, you don't want to depend on VMware from EMC, from Dell. You don't want to depend on AWS. You have your own solution. And you have two ways to do that. The first way, you create the first cloud technology solution, like you did in, I think you should many years ago. Or it's another way, the open innovation way, the open vision way. You create a consortium to create that. And the best way to make consortium in this year, it's open source licensing. It's the less when you don't care about all the licensing side. You don't care about how we could create value. You don't make a big consortium accord. You don't have to write many documents to say how we could work together. No, you have an open source licensing, and after that you work, or you don't work with that. And I think that's why open source today is the best way to innovate and the best way to create new value in industry, in IT industry. I'm sure you're right with me, no? Okay, just in this mind, okay, OpenStack offers standard API. With this reality, we could create all you would like to create with cloud technology. You could have private cloud solution. You could embed a part of your infrastructure on private cloud, on public cloud. You could create a communication between your private cloud, your public cloud. This is a hybrid cloud. You could burst. I think you have a front end of your application like OpenEDX, and you would like to create a new. You have. I think you just recruit the big one of the professor of mathematics, and after the first course online on your ODX platform, I think 1 million persons come to your platform. Okay, that's not a problem. You could deploy your platform internally and after burst it externally, if that's possible. And that's what today OpenStack is very creating. It's important, you have technology, but you have also standard. You have the new paradigm of strategy for many companies, and I think OpenStack opens the mind, opens the opportunity for many companies to open their infrastructure. Today we work with IBM, with OpenStack, with Microsoft Azure, with OpenStack, with OVH. I think we have many solutions with that because standard API, I insist that it's very important. When we talk about free software, we talk about ecosystem. 2 years ago, I made a presentation at LibrePlanet in Boston about why OpenStack must be a free software. And that's an introduction of that. Today, OpenStack, like the guy said this morning, it's the most dynamic FSOSS project ever seen. You know, this is a contribution of OpenStack at the beginning of Stackalytics. The tools give you the information about the statistic of OpenStack. You could see in July the number of commit, and now this is very a large scale. I don't know when I began the OpenStack, I was in December 11, and today this is not the same industry. This is not the same technology as saw 4 years ago. You know, and that's very important because this is the most impressive open source growth we never seen. Okay, but all that have a price. you can grow so fast and have the best code ever, the most stable code you ever have. That's important to say that. That open source is not magical. It's not magic. It's not magic. It's real. That's why, and in the other way, in OpenStack, you have a 6-month release. Every 6 months, you have a new release of OpenStack. And that's very difficult. Well, you would like to push OpenStack in production to keep this one. That's why at the departure of OpenStack project, the foundation, we discussed about that, create very, very quickly a processes to improve OpenStack component, to improve a new component, and to integrate this component. OpenStack, it's a very, very a big symbol of what we can do to create a very high-level code release, high-level code implementation. And that's very hard because I think this year OpenStack is the most, it's a bigger investment project on development. You know, no one another project in 1 year will create so many committed, so many code. That's important. That's why you need to have an incumbent process. You need to have, and that's important because in the same time you have a very, very competitive market around OpenStack. We're going. In the other way, I discussed with my guys 1 year, 2 years ago when I began at Savoir-Faire Linux. I come from France, and in France we have big OpenStack project, and I was in Savoir-Faire Linux. Okay, Savoir-Faire Linux, it's a 16-year-old company with Savoir-Faire Linux. You know, it's a specialist, it's an open source leader. And the first time I discussed with the guys, my high-skill level guys from Linux, they know Linux very well. GNU Linux is important, very well. But after I demonstrate what is OpenStack, it's very, you have a silence in the room, you know, because they never seen a complex project like OpenStack. I think today you could say OpenStack, it's more complex than Linux. Because, why? Because you embedded Linux in OpenStack. You also embedded the software, all the virtualization network with the virtualization. You integrate the hypervisor. You integrate many things, many components. And that's important because today, when my client or guys say, I would like to try OpenStack, I go upstream. Okay, you could go upstream, but don't be afraid. It's the same thing. It's the first time you push GNU Linux, you say, okay, I begin to see the code of Linux before I would like to deploy Linux. You know, no. In the first time you deploy Linux, and after that you could see the code, you could package Linux. But the first time you need to create. That's important because I think many companies may try to deploy OpenStack, have a deception on that because this is, I think, a hard project to understand. And after that, we could see we are very specialist on OpenStack. With this problem, a huge project, very complex, we have a big fast grow. A foundation was created 4 years ago to support the OpenStack movement. Just to give you an input, the annual budget of the foundation of OpenStack Foundation, it's $10 million budget per year. It's just to keep in mind what is the movement of OpenStack. You have a non-profit organization focused only to manage how coordinate all the stuff around OpenStack. This is their budget. That's important. And you have 3 committees, like we said this morning. I don't create. This is the same picture you could see on every presentation about OpenStack. That's very interesting because on the left side, you have the technical committee. It's elected by technical guys. If you don't contribute to OpenStack, you cannot vote for these guys. Okay, you need to push code to nominate this guy, and you can't be nominated at this place if you not commit code. This is the best could be here only. In the other way, you have the user committee. It's to counterbalance the middle. If this is all the user you have on OpenStack. It could be, I think I am one of them, but you have, this morning I see 32,000 people, individual member of the foundation. And this important, you have the board of directors. It's when you have cash, you are here. When you are Cisco, when you are IBM, you would like to be here. This is a war game in this place. You know, this is a technical, all the technical issues are decided in tech committees, but all the business issues are checked here in the board of directors. And if that's important to understand, today it's the war. The war is now about OpenStack because the market is huge, it grows very fast, and you have big players in place. And that's important, you have a true political mindset in the board today. But if you like to contribute, you don't care about that. You don't care about the political aspect. You are focused on your code. You are focused on what you would like to do. That's why we are trying to contribute to OpenStack. That's why small company, I have many friends that work in a small company, you could contribute in OpenStack. In the other way, I made a PhD about open source, and that's why I like to present this presentation, this picture. This is a true business-oriented software. When you talk this morning about open source, freedom, free software, when you talk about OpenStack, you don't talk about freedom. You talk about open source. You talk about business. You talk about leadership on the industry. Okay. Today, you have many actors. We discuss about that because that's the introduction as the Canadian market. You know, after that, you could see what we could have in the Canadian market. You have hosting provider. They use OpenStack. They are the big user of OpenStack. They push OpenStack at the maximum of their possibilities. They created the new OpenStack, like NFVs this morning, the network function virtualization, all the stuff around OpenStack. You have editor. Red Hat. Red Hat is one of the most important contributors at OpenStack. You are service provider, like a small one like Serverfire Linux. You are global service provider. You could have in that way you have IBM, you have Oracle, you have company have a lot of technology, and you like to integrate OpenStack in the middle of the different stack they offer. And you have end-user organization. In end-user organization, it's today we have an example. It's Walmart, PayPal. Today you have NSA. The NSA use OpenStack. That's strange, no? They use open source software because they're afraid to be spied, I think. And NSA use OpenStack. Many university. You have also. All the company use, all the gaming company, all the company work on the web use OpenStack because this is the use case of OpenStack. We are to use case on OpenStack. It's also our hosting provider and gaming company, video company. Disney Studio, Disney Interactive is based on OpenStack. BMW use OpenStack. You have many solutions. In this business-oriented software, it's important you have, that's not the easy world. You have company contribute to OpenStack. This is an official information. You go on Stackalytics. Stackalytics is the tools permit to have all the information about statistical information on OpenStack. You could see every contribution at every tools component of OpenStack here. And you could see this is the meritocracy aspect. You will be the best on OpenStack. You need to show what we do with OpenStack, what you commit. The first committer for OpenStack is Red Hat. After HP, Rackspace, Mirantis, IBM, is not the small one. Hey, that's strange. The latest, it's VMware. VMware is one of the most big contributors of OpenStack. That's why when I began, I say you are not in the same paradigm. You are on the new way of the cloud. Even VMware know that. Even VMware say my technology is old. I need to improve. improve it, and I need to build on OpenStack on VMware to offer a new opportunity. When you are DTI today, the reality is you guys, you development guys, would like one VM to create a new software, only one VM. This VM, you need to wait 1 week in the better way, in the big organization, to have this VM. 1 week, okay? After several years to do that, knock on the door, Azure, AWS, and say don't care about that. I give a VM in 10 minutes. After 1 year, that is the name, we name that the shadow IT. You have a big shadow IT, and you are GTI, so you have a big part of your project and your infrastructure outside your company. And to go against that, you need to reintroduce a solution in your company. And VMware don't able to do that. VMware don't have the technology to do that. That's why you push VMware to say, take back this solution, and VMware say, okay, we built OpenStack on VMware, and you offer the same services than Azure or AWS on private cloud. And after that, we offer also a bursting. Intel, because Intel contributes at every open source software, I think, and Intel would like to have to be sure all the technology could be pushed on Intel. I think today. In this vision, we have big market, a huge market in US. You have a huge market in Europe, big market in Europe. And after that, when I met my first client about OpenStack 2 years ago, they said, okay, Walmart, yeah, 100,000 server, it's enough. That's okay. I have the name of big company, very impressive, but who do it in Quebec? And that's who do it in Canada. And that's a strange question, you know. The world did not stop at the frontier of Canada, you know. But I understand that. The question is, what is the ecosystem I could reach if I push an OpenStack project? If I don't want to be alone on the project, I don't want to be alone to deploy that, I don't want to be alone to contribute on that, and I would like to create a community, an ecosystem. That's why I say at the beginning, free software equals ecosystem. If you don't have a ecosystem, it's very hard. That's why it's important to introduce the Canadian actor in this market. How you could work with a company to build an OpenStack. You have the editor and technology provider. You have the traditional editor, HP, IBM, Cisco, Red Hat. This is a worldwide class company. I think they are very active in Canada, and you could use their technology to push OpenStack. You have a new one. It's very interesting. It's a Toronto company. It's a Breakwater. It's hard to say that for a French guy, Breakwater, when you see the name. Breakwater, it's a Toronto-based company, offer a bundle of OpenStack, easy to deploy, to compete with VMware, the VMware solution. You don't want to use VMware to build a Linux server. It's a way to use VMware to empower Linux, to deploy Linux, but many companies use VMware to do that. And that's Breakwater offer you a bundle of OpenStack, OpenStack distribution to go more easy with all the hardware you need on that. Cisco offer you switch, all the server you need to build an OpenStack. IBM the same way. That's very strange because you have IBM in the 2 columns. The first column is IBM. If you use IBM cloud solution, you use OpenStack. But IBM is, I think it's today the company I've been contributing the most. It's the most important contributor of open source, IBM, truly. If you saw every project, you have IBM. And 20 years ago, you have IBM. And that's important, but the way, all the time, IBM don't want to say at these clients, hey, we use open source. No, we change the name, Cloud IBM Management Platform, okay? And you have no idea what is under your platform. Today, you deploy cloud IBM management platform, you use OpenStack. See, you deploy Power VC, you use OpenStack. See, if you're going to the soft layer, it's the IaaS solution, public cloud solution of OpenStack, of IBM, you use OpenStack. But you don't say you use OpenStack. That's why it's very important. In this column, you have the hosting provider. Like I say, hosting provider play a big game with OpenStack because OpenStack offers us the opportunity to be competitive with AWS. That's important because that's the game today. And you are telco, you have the same problem. Today, I don't mention that here because Bell work on that. You have TELUS, you have Roger, have a project on that, proof of concept. But today they offer OVH, Ericsson deploy all the Ericsson cloud are based on OpenStack. CloudOps is a small company in Montreal. Cloud8 it's a company in Ontario. HiWeb it's a company just 2 years ago was bought by Internet, 28 data center. We manage 28 data center with OpenStack. Ormuco, it's a company, the same, it's a hosting provider based in Montreal, and they offer OpenStack. In the OVO solution, that's not important they use OpenStack or not. That's important they offer you infrastructure as a service solution. And the last side, I'm looking for another OpenStack service provider, but I don't find them. It's very strange. But I think if you search on Google, you could find another OpenStack service provider. I think today we have an OpenStack team in Savoir-Faire Linux, and we are a true OpenStack integrator because we don't want to stay in your company 2 or 3 years. We know we are not a big service provider like many. We just would like to push you OpenStack to learn you how you could build an OpenStack, and after you could go out with your version of OpenStack. We are a partner with Red Hat for most of our projects. The user, because that's important, I just added this one, Seneca College. Very happy this morning. And I think TD Bank had an announcement at the last OpenStack Summit in Vancouver. TD Bank use OpenStack. A bank user of open source software. This morning we have a question about security. What is the question? A bank use open source software? Yeah, they have good reason because when you use open source software, you use security tools. That's if you need to keep in mind because many years ago, the proprietary company said open source is not secure. I think the inverse, the situation in open source is secure. When you use a proprietary solution, you don't be sure, you can't be sure this is a secure solution. TD Bank deploy, and today we work, I have an example, we work with Quebec Ministry on OpenStack. The Secret Services of Canada deploy OpenStack, like NSA in US. UK, LUCAM, Concordia, the both have a research share about OpenStack. The first one, LUCAM work on OpenStack and networking. The second one work about OpenStack and security access. Concordia have a big contract, R&D contract with Ericsson. And UCAM have, I think, a big community of OpenStacker in UCAM, and they work specifically on the SDN and NAV side. That's very interesting because if you would like more technical information of OpenStack, we could take many time on that, but with pleasure. I could give you all the technical information under OpenStack, but you could have many opportunities for researcher, for R&D project with OpenStack because we touch every problematic with infrastructure, network, virtualization, implementation, container, security, access, automation, continuous integration. I think we have many opportunities. We have a project in Telux 2, and with OpenEDX, like the presentation we heard just before. And Ubisoft is one of the big users of OpenStack today. Data Valet is a small company, and many startups. 2 days ago, I discussed with Mark, who Toronto director. I met a guys from a very beautiful project about startup, very continuous integration, get it, all the open source tools. And after a few discussions, they use OpenStack. They use OpenStack from Rackspace, but they use OpenStack because when you start up, you start with nothing. And when you start with nothing, it's a better way to have the best disruptive solution. You use open source, you use OpenStack API, and after that, after you create your API, you create your application with OpenStack, you could deploy everywhere. Okay. After that, you have another opportunity that way. First example, we have example of OpenStack project we run today. The first, it's a e-learning university. I think you already have a great presentation about ODX and OpenStack, how we could build a bursting and private cloud, public cloud solution. That's important because in university you have a huge infrastructure. Why you could use public cloud when you already have investment on server? That's very important to add that. And you have also all the privacy, all the elements around privacy and content. Content licensing, because when you are a professor, you don't want to have a free use of your content. You could have, I think, licensing on your content. That's possible. For Quebec Ministry, we were happy. We deploy an OpenStack, Red Hat OpenStack, to deploy all the Java application and the website. In this case, they don't have virtualization. They have their bare metal server. They would like to virtualize. They use SUSE Linux. And after discussion, they said me, what is the virtualization in 2015? I say, virtualization this year, it's OpenStack. If you will make virtualization with Proxmox, OVIRT, you have very true open source virtualization model. Who you would like with VMware, you're going to make virtualization with the whole solution. Today, the new solution is OpenStack. And after, we have a very innovative company. They offer a wireless in all the Tim Hortons. And with wireless, they offer all the elements of information about what the client do with the access. What can do in all Tim Hortons, and after you create a content, you create offer with the information you take with the client. We have 3 different projects. We are now another one, but we can't talking about. An example we are just see before for OpenEDX. Just an example of OpenStack deployment. You have continuous integration tools. And after you deploy it on OpenStack, and you could create every VM you would like to create with your application. And we could burst on a public cloud if you don't have enough resources on your server. That's important because advice. Because when it's important, you have investment, you have server, you have content, you have also hardware. When you would like to go to the cloud, you don't cross all of that, you don't take all of that in the trash. You could use that, and you could use the better way with that, and after that, to have a reflection of what we would like to build in the future. It's a public or private cloud. If you have a project like that, it's very important with OpenStack. Keep it simple. Do simple. So we do that's important to go with OpenStack or the most simple way. That's important, and more you are a simple deployment on OpenStack, more you will, less you will have problem with that. Less you will have, you will meet many difficulties. That's very important. You could use upstream solution. I prefer to you, I'm an upstream guy for many things, but I prefer say to you, no, I think it's in that time it's more important to use a solution promoted by an editor. I think because today the upstream solution is very hard, and the most difficult way with OpenStack is the deployment tool. When you would like to deploy and to maintain and to upgrade OpenStack every 6 months or every year, you need to have an orchestrator, you need to have an automation tool. That's very important. That's why I will ask you, do it simple. Don't talk about NFV, SDN, or that way today. Just run very simply. After that, you could upgrade your technology. No lock-in vendor. When you choose your OpenStack platform, you need to verify your API is not fork. That's the upstream API, you know. You need to be sure you not have a lock-in under your OpenStack. That's important because OpenStack offers you freedom to choose hardware, freedom to deploy software. But if you're going to lock your OpenStack with a vendor, it's an Apache project. Every vendor could do everything with OpenStack. Even you lock your OpenStack. That's very important because today more companies would like to go with OpenStack for the freedom because they don't want lock-in. They want a new vision with only added value solution and not lock-in. That's important when you choose your OpenStack. And after, you have all the rated technology today. If you don't know Docker, I think you need to know now. You need to take a note with Docker because Docker is when I say OpenStack, it's a IaaS solution. Okay, when you build a platform as a service, you would like to deploy easily automation. You need to have tools like Puppet and Chef. It's automation tools. They permit to create new VM. After OpenStack create new VM, Puppet. No. You could have I don't know, recipes. You have recipes about how you could automatic recipes. This VM, it's a VM with Linux, with Drupal, with LAMP, and you could automatically create your VM, automatically install software on your VM, automatically identify your VM with your Active Directory of your tools, your identity tools, LDAP tools. You could also create the interaction between the VM. You say this VM, it's have a private network with another VM or another container. But very important, Puppet. Today we run a big project with Puppet for Desjardins Bank, and we have a big project with CN, and we help also Bell and Bell on that. Today, Red Hat embedded the Puppet on their satellite solution, their automation solution. You have also two new ways. Google, 2 months ago, has joined OpenStack Foundation, okay, to push Kubernetes. Kubernetes is, I'm not the specialist of Kubernetes, okay. It's a great challenge to be to understand OpenStack, and I can't understand everything. And Kubernetes, it's a container platform. You could build a container, and you could build many containers on that. And container like Docker permit to be less dependent than your OS, less dependent than your Linux. Container embedded only the part you need for your application to deploy it. If your application need only a LAMP stack, you don't care about the interface, about all the stuff you have on operating system. When you deploy operating system with Linux, you have many tools you don't need if you would like to deploy a PHP solution. With container, you are focused only on what you need in the operating system. It's very creative new tools and very popular. And with Kubernetes and Docker and OpenStack, you are very free to deploy everywhere. In the same time, you have a new project. We have project with Docker with TD Bank. We help TD Bank to integrate Docker. We have many clients, startup or development company work with Docker. We help them. But after, we have a new project, FSOSS. If one of you know FSOSS, I think I want you to discuss here because I don't want to say you false information, but it's very Apache project, Apache Foundation, to have a better use of all the hardware aspects in your component. Today, FSOSS is used by Apple with KVM to deploy all the aspects of iPhone. This is an interface between the hardware of the iPhone and the application. And all the virtualization the next iPhone will be with a virtualization with KVM. You know that? That's important because all around the world, all the smartphones instead use open source solution instead of Windows Phone, but no one has a Windows Phone. That's funny. Okay, and just, I still the term in English, in French. Recycling, you already have what you need. You already have server, you already have KVM, you already have component, open source component, you already have what you like, what you need to deploy OpenStack. You would like, if you have, keep in mind, if you would like to run OpenStack project, it's not a big investment at the beginning. You could run it in your current architecture. You could, that's not a big project. I think it's important. Finish. If you have a question.